guys.
Okay, it's 12 o'clock, I'll call the meeting to order. Can I get approval of the agenda?
Before you do that, do you know if anybody else is coming who's not here?
Karen can't make it.
Karen
She said
cannot?
she said she might show up if she gets an issue at taking care of at work by 1 o'clock, but otherwise she's not here.
And do we know if Hammer is coming?
I haven't heard from Cameron.
Okay, thank you.
So, okay, can I get an approval of the agenda?
I would request a couple changes in the agenda.
Okay,
In Tom's cover letter, he talks about things that came out of the design committee, and I think those should properly be handled under new business, not just as part of the design
Oh, okay.
committee.
I guess I was thinking
reports.
like back
But-
in county government. So.
It just,
so do you want garbage?
so there are 3 items actually.
Okay.
One is the allocation of fund balance of to $4,500 for,
What was the amount,
So
Perry?
that would be item E, 9E.
9E.
It would be allocation of
for
what?
signage, parking signage. F, 9F being the recommendation to utilize up to $50,000 of fund balance for garbage corrals. And 9G being motion to allocate up to $3,500 from fund balance for 150th anniversary banners.
For what?
150th anniversary banners.
So I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
And I think one of the reasons I want to have those there is because that will be near the discussion of the budget. And I think we need to think about all those financial matters
That's
at the
fine.
same time as opposed to at different times in the budget.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Any more discussion? Do you have everything that you need for the notes?
I'm getting there. Okay, Sarah, you, okay, I get second.
Okay, and Tamara will be here, she's just running a little late. Can I get an approval of the October 10th meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Any discussion?
There are minor corrections. Throughout this document, it refers to the Spark as the Sparks program. So there's an extra S on pretty much not all, but most of them. And in paragraph C on page 2, it says, and the award of the price, and it should be the award of the prize to the new Manistee business.
What paragraph? Page 2, what?
Item C at the top under business development. The last
Should be award of the prize.
prize.
I don't know who did those. Does anybody here know if they, you know?
I didn't do those, I don't know.
So I don't know whether, I could get them retyped again.
Okay.
I just,
No, someone should have them, either, would you have them, Valerie? Huh?
This is in the format I use.
That's not the format.
And that's
I
not the
use.
format I use, so I don't know where.
I don't know where they
That
come
was
from, right?
October?
Yeah, I was supposed to still on, right? I'll check.
Okay.
I'll go home and check. And then get them to you, Tom, or I'll make the changes.
because we need to get those on the city's website.
Sure.
You just never approved them. They're in draft form on the city's website, but they're not in final form.
Is there any more discussion? Okay, approval of the February 13th meeting minutes?
Somebody vote on it?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any more discussion on the October 10th meeting minutes? All in favor? Any opposed? Approval of February 13th meeting minutes?
So moved.
And then as far as correction, well.
Is there a second?
There was a correction.
Awesome work.
Any discussion?
There's a blank in
Well,
here.
we need,
Yeah.
we need the amount.
Right.
My recollection, it was $5,000, but
I couldn't remember, I checked my notes and I couldn't
I'm
find
100%
it.
sure on that, but that was my recollection.
I
That's
think
why
it's
I didn't,
5,000.
that's why I didn't put it down, because I missed the amount, so 5,000, I think, something, that's what I
It
recall.
is.
Okay, you add that and then send that to me?
Pardon?
Will you add that and then send me the minutes?
I'm adding it to the approval of the February.
I know, but
Meeting minutes
within the
with-
minutes, will you add that and then email it to me so that I can?
Oh, yeah, I'm adding it right now.
And then one other small typo in agenda item 6, financial reports. In that paragraph, it says payment of city invoice $313, and that should be number 313.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, I will not do that again.
We'll keep you.
At least you know people are reading your minutes.
Thank you, Barry.
Well, when you send out 100 pages, it's like I gotta allocate some serious time to this.
I actually would have the first 2 hours.
Any more
Sorry.
discussion? All in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Financial report, the review of the financial statement.
I sent Barry an email yesterday asking him, because I knew you were going to want to go through this kind of quick, so we sent an email, and he sent me a list of several questions, a couple of them which I was able to answer, and I received, I don't know, Barry, if you saw the answers from Connie, but it looks like most of those questions were answered.
But they're also gonna result in changes, so.
Right.
yeah.
I only saw those about a half hour ago, so,
Okay. So
I mean, I think they're, do you think there's more related changes that the board needs to make, or?
No, just changes to the financial
There will be
statement before we
changes.
approve
Oh,
it.
Right, so do we wanna get those changes in, or
Yes.
do we want to make
Should we make the
after?
changes and then next month we approve this financial report?
Yes.
But one thing we could do is, because we're supposed to approve the
Yeah, we
checks,
should
so we could
approve
do
the
that
expense
at
vouchers.
this point.
Yeah, you should approve the bill, you know.
Right, just the monthly disbursements.
So I make a motion that we approve the vouchers, payment vouchers for the month of February.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so for next,
I do have, I have one other question that I wanted to mention about this that came up in my questions to Connie yesterday, but
okay, just want to clarify that. So next month, the changes that Connie and Tom and you have been working on will be updated on the financial report, and then we'll approve this financial report next month.
Well, you have two
Okay.
financial reports, you
Yep.
have the March and the.
Yep, okay.
so the question that arose, because new this month were the amortization schedules for our outstanding loans. And it dawned on me that our loan to Mitten Media was not in that list. It was paid? Okay, so I asked the question, and Connie said we still have an outstanding receivable from Mitten Media. So
Oh, okay.
I was wondering if it was paid or wasn't paid, so it was paid.
Apologize.
Okay.
I think it would be very helpful with the loans that the people that have loans get a monthly statement.
And they have the last couple of months. I've asked Connie, and I've given Ducons and Barbershop across the street, and I've tried to give you one over the last couple of months. We've done that. That's not only been your request, that's been the request of Shelley Cott asking.
Yeah, it would be very helpful.
Everybody that I've given them to, the three that I've given them, they're all very very happy that they do
Yeah.
that, because they're wonderful.
Okay, so then will an invoice go to Metin Media for the remaining balance?
We would have to do that, yes.
Okay.
I'll make sure that it's, I'll
Okay.
work on that.
Sounds good.
Concerned about that aid in their business.
No, but it would go to Todd. Okay. Any more discussion? Okay, 2017-18 audit review.
Mr. Talsma is here today at your request to go over and he is, if anybody needs a copy of the, I think I passed out most of the audits. And he also, you should also have one of these on your desk, each one of you brought this today, so.
So thank you for having me here to go over the 2018 audit. So about, the report was issued time ago now, so about some graphs that kind of show the financial statements, so you can a little more understanding of the First off, the opinion that the DDA got against here was the unqualified opinion, non-modified means. To a large degree, everything is done according to the current principles, audit standards, and there's evidence to support everything to a higher degree to give accuracy and belief and accuracy of the statements and those things. So that's the best opinion you can get when you want to get, and that's also what you got for 2018. So the packet of graphs I brought show the cover sheet looking like this. It's going to show the assets on the first page of the authority. Cash stands pretty low. Taxes receivable. We had one this year for taxes of $82,000. Usually the cycle it gets billed early in the beginning of your year in July, and then it's collected over a period of time, and then hopefully finally gets done by county settlement in April or May, whenever that comes. Usually it's all collected in that cycle. This year we had some remaining, and maybe it's just a timing thing. Usually receivable is necessary to make sure that the whole revenue allotment is included. Next year, accounts receivable down from $35,000 to $4,000. Other assets were pretty level, and then your notes went down slightly too, from $125,000 to $117,000. So that means those are pretty collected. Second page then starts with your liabilities. I think owed, accounts payable. About $1,500 in 17, about almost $1,400, $3,791 end of this year. That was up. Your liabilities landed about $1,100. They're usually the taxes and payroll things, due to employees and others. Unearned revenues from about $12,500 to $11,000. Unearned revenues usually money get in hand that you've got to use for either grants or different projects. It's kind of set in this liability until you get around to spending it for the intended purpose, and then it's moved into revenue recognized at that time. So that is going down. And then the last item is the net position, or there's other words for it, there's no fund balance, net worth, meaning after taking all of your assets plus any obligations or liabilities, that's what you have left over. So your ownership of those assets is pretty clear when you get. It's also the accumulation of all profits and losses from the beginning of the inception of the DDA over time. So it's kind of like the savings or the sum of all the surpluses since its existence that we use to budget for the next year. Third page in shows the revenues now. We had greater than 8,000 last year, 223,000 this year. A couple differences. We're now getting a state stabilization money, which with the changes in taxes, they started decreasing the personal property taxes or the applicability of it on certain businesses. It's kind of shifted around to the point now where it's some of it's getting replaced by the state. They have a calculation they do based on different factors of the city and things, and kind of figuring out what you lost, and then they try to give you some back based on that. It's not quite the same, but it's really state money comes from a state check, but they categorize it as taxes, I guess, because it was replacement of that personal property tax money. And then there also might be a question about the accruing it. A lot of people use 60 days after year end, some maybe a little bit further. I think we might have had a little bit too much accrued this year. I think next year, we're gonna make sure the cutoff again. The cycle should be done by the end of the year and making sure that we didn't have shipped too much this year versus the upcoming year. The other revenues, event revenues were pretty even. Other interest went down to 12,500. When we move to expenses on page 4, office expenses down. Personal consulting went up from 47,063. Design committee went up from 55 to 74,000. Economic restructuring, organization committee stayed pretty level, so professional fees, marketing went down from 62,000 to 50,000. Promotions. Other expenses went up from $4,500 to 10. And the transfer loans essentially for the payment of debt stayed pretty level. 136,000 last year, 137,000 this year for that payment. Then the fifth graph shows the fund balance in that position for the last 5 years. And we had a little bit of a bump from last year from 290 to 342,000. And again, this is kind of the accumulation of all the net incomes and net losses you have at the beginning of time. Because it's kind of like your savings. I think in 2016, we kind of had a bump because there were some additional cash accounts that were in question on whether they were under the purview of the DDA. I can't remember if we had maybe legal opinions and other research we found on it was, so they got added in at that point before, and if they weren't, there was a couple of those. So it kind of led to the rebound of your net position back in 16, and it's pretty healthy the following few years. That's pretty much kind of a picture of the balance sheet and the income statement comparing 17 to 18. Any questions on any of that?
I do have a question, and that's, you kind of touched on it. Not sure I understand your answer there, and it's with regards to the TIF issue, or the TIF amount, because Tom sent out the draft of this on January 2nd, and I responded the next day with basically a question: why are our TIF revenues for the year so much higher than budgeted? And then you were in the loop on those emails, and then the following day, the city finance director at Bradford sent an email that it was the end of a Friday, January 4th. Tom, this explains part of it. The audit rolls up the local community stabilization fee into TIF, which I don't include in my TIF report, so that was part of the discrepancy. However, it was discussed with Tyler, et cetera. A bigger issue is why Connie's numbers from the trial balance are off from the report. Perhaps Connie can weigh in. The delinquent taxes from the county in the amount of $45,727.93 are properly accounted for. However, I agree with Barry that the $36,514.25 shouldn't be accrued as part of fiscal year 2018 revenue, since it was revenue for fiscal year 2019 and related to the 2018 summer tax. And then on Monday, Tom sent this to Connie, and then that's the last that I have an email of this thread. So from my reading from Ed Bradford's email here is that our revenues are overstated by $36,000+ for this year, which I find significant and I'm concerned about.
It shouldn't be 36, it's probably more, that gives us the capture amount than the rates. And from what I have, in the city was, it should be around 273,000 for this TIF. Is he saying something different? Excluding the stabilization money.
I can't say because I don't have necessarily everything, but one of the things that was included in that email was an account detail for the TIF. And there's a general journal entry on 6/30 in the amount of $36,514, which is where that number is coming from, is being questioned by Ed.
Do we Do you remember what that entry was essentially for?
It would have been for monies received within that 60-day window after a year end.
But if they were for summer taxes
And that would be the-
2018, which are
that
due
would
in
be the-
September,
That would be the issue, yeah.
they should not have been rolled back.
It is a common thing in governmental entities. There is actually a recognized 60-day window that you can receive revenues. So it sounds like, though, that in your case, that would not be the case. It is for, like the township, Stronach Township, we get funds after year end, and we have 60 days. After that, we can't accrue it anymore.
Right.
So that's what I have done, but from what you're saying, it doesn't sound like,
I'm just asking questions and
Yeah.
trying to get answers,
Yeah.
and the
But
last
that would be
was
the-
basically from Ed.
It's the summer money would start to come in July. I mean, the tax bills go out July 1st, and so
But I think according to something I recall is that this check came into the DDA in August,
book back.
and it was put back into June.
I guess we should verify that, that's the case for sure.
to
If
know
that's
which
the-
period.
If that's the case, yeah, then we have a timing shift. But again, I don't think, from him, from what Ed gave me is what you should have gotten based on the capture times the captured rates. I think we're a bit closer than 36. I think we're figured around 22, 23. That's been shifted ahead.
One of the things that happens with the budget almost never is going to match up to what you're going to get.
Right.
At least not right now. And, you know, Ed gave me some numbers just the other day that I kind of included in my scribbled budget. And it's way under 320,000, but he's taken out $400,000 for tax tribunals and some other thing. You know, he's, and they're being very, very conservative with those revenues, you know, and with value. And so, you know, $400,000 in value means about $20,000 in revenue, I think. So, you know, it can really vary. I'm confused over the fact that you received $323,000, I think, in revenue, tip revenue last year, and Ed's giving me a number of like $250,000. And last year, he gave Tyler a number of 270 or something like that, so.
But that doesn't include the state reimbursement in Ed's numbers. You gotta understand that 20,000 back.
Well, that's,
So that
and
makes
in the
it-
budget that I've given you, that is included. It's in a different line item. It's included.
Right, but Ed's number is still like 260 plus then 20,
Plus,
so it's 280.
yeah, and he lowered that to 15,000 also, but I brought it back up. We had a little bit of discussion about it, but that's part of why.
No, I'm not expecting them to be identical, but when it's, yeah, like,
No, I don't.
had the page open, what we budgeted and what the audit is showing is like,
It's a lot.
it's a lot more than I've ever seen. And then seeing this journal entry that basically reclassified just wanted me to dig, and I just haven't gotten an answer yet.
So the 36,000, Barry, are you suggesting that goes
I think
to,
either all or some of that is actually this year's revenue, and then we'll be that much short this year because it, yeah, basically accounted for last year.
so Connie you did the 60-day window, you don't want her to do that?
The 60-day window, as I understand it, is there for things that are logically to be approved for the previous
For the-
year, not something that should have been in this year.
The original trial month that we got, though, I thought that was a deposit. It wasn't, the entry you were talking about was in the second trial balance that came out, right? But when we went and did the audit back in August, we got our trial balance from Tyler. It's dated, this is dated 9/26, in there in September. And then when we got this other one, it was the amount for the TIF revenue was slightly different by that amount. So it's, that would lead to believe that the adjustment was reducing it in the second version of the trial balance. So I guess we've got to get a handle on why it was there in the first place, why did it move again?
Valerie, can you work with Tom, Connie, and, what's that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't mean that, maybe.
So before Ken meets, and we will get the discrepancy of the 36,000.
We'll be able to clarify.
Okay.
Yeah, the other thing could be, some other type of revenue that put in the wrong line or something, and I think we need to be totally sure.
Any other concerns? So is that an answer that you could come back to the board with next month?
I
To-
think
Yeah,
we
it's-
need to make sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need a lot of assistance with content.
So Ken, Connie, Tom, and Valerie, the board can work on that and come back to the board next month with an answer of that 36,000. Is there any other questions on the audit? Comments? So do we want to approve the audit, or do we want to wait to figure out where the?
You really should approve the audit. Accept the audit.
Pardon?
You should really accept the annual audit.
If it's a timing thing, we can correct the next one to move it to the right period, and with a footnote explaining what happened.
So does someone want to make the
We're
motion?
so late in the game.
We'll make the motion to approve it.
To approve it with,
Well, with
As is.
clarification and, sounds like.
With clarification of the 36,200.
And I don't think you're gonna get an updated audit. That price, right?
No.
Say the next
No.
one, we got to
The
correct
next
and
one,
explain
now,
what-
Okay.
that's why we should move forward, because we aren't going to see it for audit.
Right.
So do you think we should be asking for one, Harry?
To me, 10% of our revenue is a material issue
Yes.
that, I mean, as in my seat approving something that I believe may be off by 10%, I have a hard time voting yes for that. But I don't know what the process technically should be in a situation like this.
Neither do I.
Neither do I.
I've been
Never
staff
had
for 31 years, so.
I think it makes it hard too, with Tyler, Tyler left, I didn't know he was gone until we started talking Tom in December. And, we got this stuff, so.
well, do we need to then,
Why do you think we
I
need to
mean,
approve the audit?
yeah, it would be an amendment.
Well, you usually accept,
No.
accept the
We
audit.
accept the audit.
You're not approving it as much as you're accepting the audit report, right? I mean,
Right,
that's normal.
Yeah, you can see just.
I mean, the money is there, it's just a matter of whether it's in your
What-
fund balance or whether it's in your.
Exactly. So I say that we accept it and we make the motion to accept it. I
Now,
was-
aren't the financials approved every month by you guys? Should I be getting our records through, go to the directors then, or directly from them, or? Because it's changing, I want to make sure I getting it from the right source, I guess.
So I think still you four could work together and have an answer for, I suggest that we accept it with the next, well, and then you four will work together and have an explanation for next month. Because like Tom said, the money's there, it's just going to be a matter of changing.
Cash is not only confirmed, sorry, by the bank, so cash is cash.
Right.
It's just these accruals are what, that's the main question.
So right now, we have a motion by Valerie, no support yet, to accept the audit with clarification on the TIF revenue, 2018 TIF revenue assignment, or is it allocation? Which word is better? Is it an assignment, or where we put it, or an allocation?
Allocation. Is there a second?
Yes.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So we look forward to getting the bottom of this.
Thank you.
Thank you. So committee reports, Director Tom?
I provided you with a report of what I've been doing the last month. I don't have a lot to add to that, other than I've been, working on getting this meeting together and some of that kind of stuff. One thing that new that has just come up in the last couple of days, actually yesterday, is that I was contacted by the brewery regarding outside seating permits, which I had no idea about. So I talked a little bit with Rachel. I asked Tyler, and I also asked Thad. Thad sent me some permitting stuff and some information on it. Looks like the DDA actually approves those outside seating permits. Tyler says there's some stuff in the computer that I haven't looked up yet. My question to you is, does that come back to this board? Or the way Tyler made it sound is he just issued permits. And he just issued them, if they satisfied what the policy said, he just issued.
That's
You're
what
okay with
happened
that?
last year. This is the only thing that I suggest. So you have a business that may want outside seating, but they may not own the building. And I think that that building owner should be notified also. Because you don't know if the outside seating would affect if they had upstairs apartments. And it really only happened with, actually, my property with Douglas Valley, but I don't know if it would happen anywhere else. So Douglas Valley wanted to be about 3 inches from my door that I go in and out of, for my apartment. And I wasn't aware of it, that Tyler approved that. And then I just worked with Kendra and it got worked out, so it wasn't a problem. But if you have someone that wants outside seating, but they don't own the building, but that building owner might have residents upstairs that outside seating may affect their egress, I think that should be looked at.
I see that more of an issue between the owner and the tenants and the lease that the owner of the building has with the tenants, not a DDA issue.
But what happened last year is Douglas Valley submitted a request for outside seating. It got approved, I wasn't even aware of that.
Yeah, I get that. I would just think
So-
that that would be between the owner of the building and the tenants, not the DDA. So the owner
Yeah.
should be addressing that with.
With the tenant.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what happened, and it was clarified very quickly. I
Gotcha.
mean, it wasn't a big issue, we just asked, them to move it over a foot or so.
I would assume, based on this our lease with the brewery, that would be
That's what-
addressed in the lease.
Okay,
And in our case, lease, and I'm assuming everybody else does
okay,
the same, because there are, especially the mixed-use building, like you said, you have tenants upstairs, there are requirements in leases normally about smoking, how far from an entrance, and whether you can smoke and so on.
but we can't assume
But,
that it's in the lease because the outside seating just got approved last year. So if someone signed a lease 3 years ago, you can't assume that that is in any lease with the building owner and the business because the outside seating just got approved
Well,
last year.
I would say,
I'm just saying it
same
should
on
be-
on the land person.
Just-
They should address those things. And they may have to, as a result of what they see, they may amend the lease.
Okay. But yeah, last year Tyler just approved it, then come back to the board.
Yeah, so you're okay with that, as long as they're following. He told me there's
Yeah.
basically 3 things they have. They have to submit a site plan, provide some insurance certificates, proof of insurance, and, whatever you want.
So every year, do they
And a
have
fee.
to apply for this?
Yeah. He told me I should send an email. He usually likes to get it done by around April 1st.
I think the original intent, because I sat on that design, was just mostly for the insurance form, just more of an awareness thing. So it does need to be reapproved.
Yeah,
but
he said the site plan can be just a scribble, here's what we want to do.
the intent wasn't to complicate it for the business owner.
Nicole, were you going to say something?
The third thing was a fee.
What's that?
The third thing
Oh,
was a fee.
yes.
But anyway, go ahead.
Well, Tyler told me, when he was talking about me sending an email out, that if it was done right around April, early, that he waived the fee. And I know what the fee is.
It was like, I think it was $25 or something, 55. I mean, it's not much.
So I would like some direction on it. I don't feel comfortable just saying, yeah, you can have it for free, but
Yeah, the intent was not to gain revenue, it was just to basically have it formalized. But if it required a lot of legwork for Tyler,
If they're all in.
that's where the $25 fee came in.
I would just recommend, since again, time issues, and this was a project discussed at the design committee level, that the board just defers to the design committee to make sure that Tom's
I'm
questions are answered.
completely fine with that.
okay, so don't issue anything until the next design.
No, I thought you meant like if he has questions, but he doesn't have to bring it back to the design
No,
committee.
the fee question is something that probably needs answered.
I think the fee question is in the application.
Yeah,
Right,
I
the
have,
ability to waive it.
I haven't
think that's in
read
there.
any of it.
I believe that's
This
in
came
there.
up yesterday afternoon, so.
I believe if it's like back by April 15th with the
made some
certificate of
comment.
insurance, like you don't have to do any, like,
Yeah, and I think that's in writing on the application.
Okay.
So is
So maybe
everybody
I'll-
comfortable with Tom making the decision on approving the outside seating? Okay. Anything else, Tom?
Nothing else other than just one, and you can talk about this maybe when you want to schedule your special meeting, if you decide to schedule it. But before the set Reyes left, she's at some training, she said that Joe Borgstrom, the consultant, the economic, I think that's his name, but he wants to meet with this board. And I don't know if that fits in with your hiring process, because he's the economic development person. I don't know if you want that to be a part. I mean, I know you want to talk about how you want to handle this position. And I don't want that, his discussion to bog you down for 2 hours and then say, oh, we didn't get done what we wanted to do. But he can't make it to your next meeting, he couldn't make it to this meeting. He was wondering, I asked for some dates that he might be available, I never got those. But I just wondered if that fits in with your other special meeting.
Yeah, I think we should do that. I talked with Joe the last time he was here, and concerning economic development in the DDA, the city, and the area, kind of generically giving him my thoughts, not the DDA's thoughts. Based on that discussion, Joe asked that to discuss some of his proposed approaches to economic development with the DDA, either as a group or individually, maybe two people at a time.
I suggest that we do it as a group. And when is he going to have his proposals ready for us?
I don't know. I have not talked to him since
Tom,
3 weeks
is that
ago.
something
The
you
issue
can
now,
follow up with him on? Is,
When he will have his,
but remember that it will have to be a public
Sure.
or notice meeting. And so there's some advantages, disadvantages of doing that versus talking with individual members of the board that would express their thoughts.
I'll leave it up to the board. I would like it to be one.
I would recommend that we schedule one special meeting.
Yes.
Starting with a discussion with Joe, so that we have all of the current information that's out there, and then go into our finalizing our strategy
that would be
matrix
that would
thing.
be my recommendation
But-
too. I just wanted you to know, I just wanted you to be aware that that could take a few hours.
When Joe comes to meet with us, is he going to have something prepared to propose to
I
us?
have not talked to Joe.
Or is it just,
Gather information from us.
he's still gathering
Or telling us
information?
what he's
I
working on.
think it's a combination of getting information from us and discuss how he normally approaches these situations. These are some of the options that could be available for our situation based on what he does elsewhere.
Tom, is that something you can
Yeah,
Right.
how do you want to schedule? I'm just going from a little bit of experience here. When I have all of you in the room together, it's a lot easier to schedule a special meeting than when I don't. If you schedule a meeting, Joe can't be there, I mean, I don't know how many dates, or if you gave me a couple of dates that we could.
Well, we have a TIF meeting next Wednesday with the city. And some of us will be on that. Can we maybe combine on that day, have a special meeting and also meet with folks? Pretty much give us a day.
What we
It
can
will take a day. It's up to you.
I will not be here this Wednesday.
Here, I don't mind meeting, but I am not going to continue having special meetings about this position. We've been talking about it since last September. We've had a strategic planning where people took the day off. Now we're having another special meeting to talk about it again. Decisions need to be made. And I'm fine with everybody meeting. I will meet in the morning, but I am not going to close my business again to talk about this position.
Next Wednesday won't work, it's got to be in the morning, because that's when we're meeting at 9. We're meeting at 9 in the morning.
9 years.
So,
If the rest of the board wants to meet, I'm totally fine with it. I don't have to be there.
it's kind of quick to get everything posted and
Right.
scheduled, and we don't even know if this room is available, or,
Right.
you know, it'd be nice if I could.
Have some time. Do you Survey Monkey? Survey Monkey whereby you can list
It gives the
No, but I
available dates and.
I could do it without, I don't think we have survey. Well, yeah, we do.
Google
Yeah, we
Docs.
do.
You can do.
Whether I can figure that out or not is another matter.
Well, the thing is when
I can-
Joe's
I
going
can-
to be here too, that's going to be the, I don't think that we
I
can
think
set
we need
dates
dates
until.
from him.
Yeah.
and
Well, that's what I was hoping to
using-
bring to you today.
Using SurveyMonkey or some online polling, just say,
Yeah.
who can meet on these
I'll just send you
times.
an email and you can respond. Okay.
Okay.
That's the easiest way for me. All right.
And can we have the meeting in the morning so people don't have to
Is that the best for everyone?
leave work in the middle of the day? Okay. Anything else, Tom?
No.
Design?
You got the reports, 3 items we've added to the agenda under new business. I just got 2 comments that I want to bring your attention to is on the topic of blight. Last week, the Historic District Commission met, and as you recall, we've been talking for a while now about a set of properties downtown owned by the Gordons and Rosemary's. And the Historic District Commission denied the extension of those permits, so they no longer have outstanding permits.
So what does that mean?
We don't know.
We don't know,
Like, what does
but it
this-
is going to change the letter that we are kind of been holding off on writing to city staff and public safety about blight ordinance, because we're now going to include those buildings in that list.
Before, when they had a,
No, because
they had an extension, it was actually an extension, that permit was an extension. Kind of
Yeah.
hindered us from doing any, taking any action because they had that extension. Now they're not gonna have that extension, now it just opens up a whole new.
Right. So what happens now if they don't do?
The blight ordinance is a city ordinance, so any enforcement of that as it is applicable, and I will say, and I think the mayor would probably concur, is that blight ordinance is not necessarily well suited for this type of issue. It's really meant for more extreme cases of blight, as
Bunch
opposed
of
to
garbage and stuff like that.
issues that are clearly properties that don't fit the character of what we're trying to accomplish. Do they need blight ordinance or not? But that's for, at this point, city council to follow. Public safety, who's the enforcement agency of that, but city council because it's their ordinance. And maybe that could lead to some changes that might make it more applicable for the issue we're trying to do. Because we don't have authority in any way to do anything per se, other than ask those that do to do something.
I think you're referring to tiles and paint, that type of thing.
Yes, I mean.
All garbage right now from the building.
Well, that's a different topic. Garbage is a different topic, which is now on the agenda
Well,
later.
can we talk about that, because E, F, and G, we have people here that can chime in on E, F, and G, and if we don't get to those by the end of this agenda, the people may not be here, and they may not be able to come back to our next meeting. So, can we move those up?
If we want to discuss.
So the one about the parking signage, we have, Jeff is here from the DPW, and he is also, can talk about the garbage corrals.
And Matt's here.
And Matt's, and I'd rather
But,
have
I mean,
E,
that's
F, and
fine,
G.
but I mean, do we want to make decisions of expending $50,000-$60,000 of fund balance before we have our conversation about budget? Those seem to be, so, but we can get the information presented at this point and then allow those guests to leave. But I personally think we should postpone taking action until we discuss the budget.
Well, just a point of clarification, when I was at the design committee meeting, and I said, well, I'll make sure these items are in the budget,
Right.
I was told, no, those are current year budget items.
It is,
So
that is true.
really, next year's budget, what I get at the end of the year-
However, your proposed budget has a deficit of $100,000+.
Right.
So if we're allocating fund balance of $100,000 in the proposed budget, and we've already decided to allocate $60,000-$70,000, do we have enough left
Right.
to do all of these things?
And those,
So they kind
the
of
reason
tie
why
together.
it's a deficit budget too is because of other things that the DDA, or the design committee talked about for next year,
Yep.
priorities for next year. And those were just off the top of my head numbers.
Yep.
Got a little better
I thought they
number
were actually
since
pretty
that time yesterday, late in the afternoon. I got some numbers from Jeff that probably increased that actually a little bit more, but
I just think in the interest of time,
Yeah, I think
That's
getting
what I
the
think.
information presented now will be fine.
because we have to get out at 1:30.
Two.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Someone
But
has to.
I think since they're both here at this meeting, that we allow them to, yes, and present what they're proposing, and then we can do the actual vote later.
Right, because they have cost analysis and everything that we need. Plus, we need to decide if we're going to ask for an ordinance to eliminate rubbish on Third Street. So these are.
So
just
do you-
really-
Want to invite Jeff up to talk about both of those?
So which item we want to discuss first?
We're just going-
9E.
We're just going to have them talk about the garbage trucks.
Okay, that's 9F.
Yeah. So. is it
Or
Jeff
we can
Mack?
just talk about it underneath the design committee
Yeah,
report
under
because
design.
it's talk.
So Jeff and Matt, do you want to inform the board on what has been discussed about the garbage corrals and your suggestion to the board on how to move forward?
And as part of our packet was the ad hoc committee report. So
Okay, I haven't seen that, but I'll try to be brief, but kind of go through the process. So I believe the DDA reached out to the city council and said, we've got issues with our solid waste downtown. It looks like trash on certain days, and there needs to be some sort of solution. City council, in response to that, formed an ad hoc committee to study it citywide. That committee has met 3 times and has really made the downtown the priority right now. So the first meeting was really just a kickoff to discuss what conditions were there, what concerns were there, what kind of the status quo was. And then Matt Violette from Republic participated in that. We asked him to go at the second meeting to bring back what type of solid waste collection occurs in other communities and in downtowns, and kind of reset. Basically, what we want to do is, if we took a fresh look at, right now we're not picking up any trash, and we had an option to create a system, how would you do that in Manistee based on what other communities do? At that time, or during that time, Matt and I also went through the downtown and kind of looked at every single business and how the current trash was collected. And what we found is almost on a block by block basis, there's something different that occurs. And even across the street from each other, there's just a different set of circumstances. And a lot of it has to do with the geography. You've got river, you've got elevation changes, you've got some places that have alleys, you have some places that have nothing, you have some that face on parking lots. So our town is pretty unique. And at the second meeting, we went through what all the potential options could be or are. And Matt, you can, if I miss any, let me know. But basically it came down to, we could put trash out in front of the businesses, which is kind of what happens now. We could put trash in common collection containers. So like the blue containers, or you can actually buy them any color or decorate as Victorian if you want. But requiring all the businesses to do that, or to do some sort of more centralized collection, or maybe a hybrid of all of those. And what we found from members that are on the committee, there's some buildings that don't have the ability to even store those containers. And one that stands out to me was the Bow Theater. They don't have anything exterior of that building to store any type of container. And with the volume of trash that they have, they would need multiple containers. Interestingly enough, they have kiddie pools in the basement that they set all the trash bags in, and then they have to haul them out to the street on collection day. And their trash is light because it's lots of, soda cups and popcorn buckets and stuff. But it was just very interesting how every different type of business, every block has to deal with something a little different. The consensus of the ad hoc committee was that centralized collection would work best to solve all of the issues, maybe not every issue, but the majority of the issues that were expressed. Pretty much from US 31 to Maple Street would be kind of the district that would be affected by that. So just those businesses between 31 and Maple. We identified two potential locations where a dumpster enclosure could be built. One was in the city parking lot behind PNC Bank, but not just the bank's parking lot, but the public parking lot that's behind it on Clay Street. And then the second location would be across from Communicraft in the parking lot on Clay Street. And there's a lot that, house that was torn down, a blighted house that was torn down, that lot could be used for an enclosure. Based on the volumes that is hauled out of the downtown, Republic's recommending at each site 2 8-yard dumpsters that could be hauled away at least twice a week. If the downtown grew, there could always be more dumpsters added, or the frequency of when those are empty could increase. And then we looked at different types of styles of corrals, anywhere from concrete block, board walls to wood fencing, options to have covered roofs. So there's the expenses are a big range. But what was recommended to the design committee was split base block, so you've got a nice decorative concrete structure that will last 30, 40, 50 years. The recommendation was actually to put a roof structure over the top of that, and then netting, so that you've got open air, but you also are keeping birds and keeping people from throwing stuff in those dumpsters from over the top. I believe the design committee, I don't know what your minutes say, but I think there was not as much favor of putting the roof in there, but maybe setting up the structure so that there was an issue in the future that the roof would be added later on. I've reached out to the city's engineer of record, the Spicer Group, and asked them, based on the size of the structures, just to give me some real rough estimates of what they thought it would take. And the numbers I got without design were $36,000 a piece. So I would think it'd be safer to budget maybe 40 a piece for those.
How many, what size and how many dumpsters inside the enclosure would go? You said something I didn't catch.
2 dumpsters in each one, that would be 8 cubic yards a
8.
piece. Yes.
One is recycle, one is refuse.
No,
they're all refuse.
All refuse.
Will there be any recycling?
You have the drop zone for the community, will be the recycle option.
Yeah, there
I didn't
was, we
hear
did
that.
not discuss recycling.
Okay.
So are you eliminating the refuse dumpsters already there? I'm sorry, the recycling dumpsters. I don't remember this from the meeting. I was under the impression in our meeting that there was a refuse and a recycle dumpster.
No.
I guess it doesn't matter.
Well, the businesses have a lot of cardboard
Right, and there's already a mechanism in place.
to take it up to the city's lot.
Well, the mechanism that's in place is MCC comes and picks those up.
But wouldn't the ordinance prevent that? from
The ordinance
happening?
would prevent that. They would have to bring it to the collection trailer or to the DPW drop off.
The mechanism that's in place is existing recycled dumpsters. They're there. Yes, they're there,
Not anymore.
Say that again.
behind our building.
Yeah, we identified that there was a dumpster there, didn't know how it got there.
It might just go easy.
Okay.
Is it recycling?
I was under the impression
The
that.
Republic didn't even know.
So why, I'm sorry, I misunderstood this at that meeting, but why wouldn't one dumpster be refuse and one be cardboard?
So you'd have to go to a 3-section corral at that point, and the contamination level on, when you have centralized dumpsters, as you know from the downtown Holland store that you own, if you put a cardboard dumpster in there, when the trash dumpster overfills, then they throw the stuff in the cardboard dumpster. And so that's one portion of it. But here, the mechanism, the cost value for the cardboard dumpster is taken away because PCA has the trailer and Catholic Central or Catholic, Catholic has the program that does some collection of that. We'd have to tweak that a little bit in this process, but
Yeah,
we could.
Whatever this program is, the ordinance would need to be rewrote or revised to create the requirement of whatever that program is. So that language hasn't been prepared yet.
What program, the recycling program?
The solid waste collection.
Oh,
But it could address other recycling in the table too. We
The,
have not talked about the recycling as part of the ad hoc.
At the locations of the 2 proposed enclosures, is there enough space for the public's trucks to come in at the right angle? There is.
Yes. One
Yes,
behind
that seems to
PMC
be an
banks,
issue.
we would put at the end, at the very end of the lot, so it'd be a straight in dump,
Okay.
and then a back out. And then, there's enough space, because we would not put it, we would not take up, we would not build the second one in front of Community Craft in the parking spaces, we would actually put it in the vacant lot. So it gives it enough depth for the trucks to maneuver. And it also gives a lot of space if that needs to be expanded over time.
So, a couple things, Jeff. One, and I'm not sure you stated it clearly enough, but those of us in the committee probably know too much about this, is part of this is a corresponding city ordinance change that would prevent garbage collect, basically putting garbage out on River Street. So basically forcing everyone within whatever this area is,
Right.
that you cannot put stuff out, it will not get picked up. I was assuming that would apply to cardboard and all those things, because those are also
It certainly could.
issues
Yeah.
that we're dealing with from a.
the thing with the cardboard, yes, I think it looks awful, but in the summer, they do change their hours to the morning, so those, and they change the day, I believe. But,
Again,
Just-
there's a piece of this,
Yeah.
the intention is not to
Nothing on
use
there
the
yet.
sidewalks for
Yeah.
things to set out to get picked up. The other thing that you're talking about, and my understanding as we were talking about this at the committee, is that we're supportive at the committee level of these components, not necessarily happy with the proposed location. So I don't think that we're necessarily locked in on those two locations that were coming out of the report, because
Yeah, I think
it's,
Kyle
that
brought up that
clay
one
one
off
is
of-
really, I mean, you're 3-4 blocks away for some users, and carrying garbage that's leaking in the back of your car to get it up there because it's too far to walk.
And the
I'm
discussion was that that was
concerned
the
with
closest currently publicly owned point.
unless the DDA might happen to buy another downtown River Street location.
Or, yes, or a
Right.
small piece of property.
So there's, I mean,
Yep.
in my mind, some of these things come together. to
Yeah, basically, we
approximate.
simply looked at what existing
Yep.
publicly owned properties would be available to accommodate that.
Okay.
Jeff, would those dumpsters also be for the restaurants, bars that are in the downtown? Either, in the, between Maple and, so we have the 31, we have what, 1, 2, 3, at least
Five.
four
With the
business
exception,
sides.
with the exception of House of Flavors, it would include all of those, because House of Flavors have a parking lot that's adjacent to the building that can house their own dumpsters in front of the food. Where the one that TJ's using is actually a city lot or owned by a different building, I forget the
It's in the city
specifics of it. It's in the city lot, so we'd want that one removed.
So there will be commercial trash that is clean, say boxes and whatever, and food waste, right? In those,
So is the design committee coming with number F of recommendation?
Yes.
Okay, so is there any more questions for Jeff or Matt?
yeah, a couple of things. When, assuming that this gets funding for that is approved right away, when are you thinking of actually building the enclosures and start using it? And how would that schedule interact with the change in ordinance?
The ordinance would have to come first in order to mandate it, and that's gonna take 60 days, typically, to push an ordinance through. Following that, the concrete pad itself would have to be poured, and at that point, the dumpster could be placed prior to the wall construction, if we wanted to have it occur before the summer season began, which was the goal of the design committee.
I think if funds were identified, you could do the design bidding process simultaneously with the ordinance revisions. And then, once the ordinance is in place, then we can proceed with construction. The design committee, the discussion was, man, we should really like to have this in place by May before the start of the season, but I think that's awful late to do.
Currently, the planning commission requires that dumpster enclosures be constructed on new properties or new buildings. Would that change then? And everybody would just use those dumpsters?
On River Street, you don't have the capacity in 80% of the buildings to put a dumpster enclosure, even if you were to tear a building down and
This
site a
is-
new building.
This is only on River Street.
I understand.
Okay.
And only until to Maple Street.
Correct.
Yeah,
31 Maple,
because
right?
after Maple, we have an alley
Yeah,
that we,
Well,
our trash
but
gets
again, I
picked up.
think the ordinance might apply
To all
to
of
the
it.
outs or down, but there is an alleyway
Well,
on the other side of Maple that makes,
I would hope it would
Easier.
apply to all the way down too, because the outs puts out a lot of,
right, I'm just saying that there may be a
Trash.
different solution for different parts of
One
this
of the
district.
portions of the ordinance was to potentially cite an exemption clause in there that's been applying for an showed cause in proper area to cite something on their own, but shy of that.
Okay.
Yeah, you may build a restaurant and build into it the convenience, and even though it's gonna cost a little more to put your own dumpster on that site. We're just trying to anticipate that. I mean, Matt struggles with, or Republic struggles with all the dumpsters that are on the north side of River Street, because the hill's going down. Even if they're placed down below River Street level, they can't get the trucks up and down the hills to access them during the winter time. So often you move them up on top. You know, the Taco Bell place has been trying to solve that issue. Okay, we got this building, we want to put a restaurant in. How do I get the garbage? There's no place to put a dumpster below. We identified a possible location where there is an enclosure that's already built on adjacent property, but it's not usable during the winter time. So, you know, they've got a temporary setup right now. So, in understanding, there's no perfect fit that's going to work for every single business. It's kind of coming up with a solution that is the best solution.
So out of time, can we move on and then listen to the recommendation from the design committee when we get to F?
Why would we just not act on it? So you know.
Well, because, which I don't mind doing, but it was suggested to wait because we were going to talk about budget.
Then we have to go into the, one of the.
I mean,
But-
do we have enough fund balance to do all the things that are on our agenda today? Is really what it boils down to. If we don't, how do we prioritize? If we just tick them off one by one, well, then those we talked about last are the ones that we don't end up doing. So.
I guess I was just thinking I need a time frame as far as what we do first, because it's my understanding we should make the decision that we are going to build a corral, because then that triggers the ordinance change, right? For nothing on no trash.
It would, yes.
Well, the DDA's action, I think, would be to appropriate so much money towards building this building. You're contributing
Right,
capital cost,
but I'm thinking of
and that's
60 days for the ordinance even.
Well, but your recommendation, build a corral would still have to go in front of council for approval to put those dumpster corrals in those spots, because the city owns those spots, not the DDA. And so the council still has to vote to approve your recommendation.
And what about the planning commission?
Yes, there's a lot of moving parts.
Correct.
That's
And
fine.
planning commission as well.
And I think
But we can't start on, there's several that we can do simultaneously,
Right.
but there's still gonna be a time frame to design, build, and
Did you need our approval
Well, let me.
today for
I
allocation
would
of
say
funds
yes, because
in order to move
I
forward
would
with the
say, and you
ordinance?
can, that just walked out, but
I can say what I want.
is if the DDA is not willing to pay for this, it's not going to happen.
So
Understand,
to move forward with the
The
ordinance,
DDA
do you need our approval today?
the DDA identified an issue, or concern in an
Yep.
issue.
Right.
The ad hoc committee was formed and made a recommendation. They asked us to present to the design committee. The design committee asked us to be here in case you had questions. If the DDA decides to accept those recommendations and move forward, then money needs to be identified to be able to construct those. Once money's in place, then we can proceed with implementation.
And money, and the money that's being recommended by the design committee is not enough based on what you
Yeah,
just.
that's my concern.
You're talking about 74,000 rather than 50, just so you, I mean, well, I thought I heard you say 37,000.
I would say 80.
What's the size again of the?
They're 8 yard, the largest capacity.
No, the enclosed.
Corral.
They're
It's a little 36 by 18,
something like
Jeff, do we need
How much?
two of them?
18 deep, 36.
that. Minimum.
Minimum of two.
And we talked about,
Why do you
if
need
you got
18?
two, and just
You're
like Barry brought up,
8
that,
foot on
that makes it
the
more
whole ad
accessible, it's
is
not
that
optimum
deep. You have an
for the
approach.
distance to those businesses, but also based on, and we've kind
I
of been
can-
starting
you
an
can get
audit
the
of how
specs.
much trash actually comes out of the downtown, to make sure that the sizing is appropriate, but all of a sudden, if you had a whole bunch more restaurants or a whole bunch more users, and those volumes go up, you know, there's a couple different ways we can, there's 3 different ways we can solve that. One, we can add more dumpsters, but then you gotta build more walls. two, you can dump them more frequently, so the cost goes up to service them, but you don't have to build anything new. And then ultimately, if neither of those are feasible, because you have so much volume, we can look at purchasing a compactor where the trash goes in there and gets compacted, but uses the same square footage. So two, right now, builds you capacity for what you need, but also provides for expansion in the future.
Sherry, I think if you want to make the motion,
I will make
go
it.
ahead, because this should not be another thing that we are going to talk about for the next 4 months.
Or 4 years.
We did ask the DPW to work on this, we asked the city to ask them, they didn't. Now we need to make a decision.
And they formed an ad hoc committee, and this was a
Yes.
recommendation from the city.
So do we want to do that
And for how
before we hear
much?
the rest of the things
Yeah.
on the?
What are we, how much are we approving?
Well, the design committee recommendation was for $50,000.
50?
Yes. But we're now hearing that it's gonna be 80. Now, there are cheaper designs, so we could accomplish 2 corrals for 50.
I wouldn't do
Or-
anything unless it's concrete block.
All right,
Try
I'm
other
making a
things
motion,
that
and
don't
then it'll either pass or fail.
So what's your,
My motion is that we,
So we are down to, excuse me,
I'm
we are
sorry.
down to 9F then? That's where the action is.
right,
Do you want the text of what you motioned at the design committee?
okay, so I am making a motion that we eliminate trash pickup on River Street through a city ordinance change. Where are you?
So far.
Thank you. I need help. And that we allocate $80,000,
Up to probably.
up to $80,000 for the siting of 2 garbage corrals within the district. That's it.
I guess on city property.
As, yeah, the locations as identified, because we are talking about those 2.
is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Yeah, just a second.
So-
Yeah, I have to write.
So locations as identified, I'm assuming means the 2 locations that came up from the ad hoc committee. And we're not gonna look at alternative locations. So we're potentially investing $80,000 into suboptimal sites,
Right.
in my opinion.
I would actually rather leave the locations out of the motion personally, and leave that. I think we did, I would like to make a decision that we make this an ordinance, and some details can be discussed later.
Yeah, if I can jump in, I mean, before the construction is awarded, if you find a better site, there's nothing wrong with that.
But if the motion
just
calls
saying,
out
yeah.
2 specific
Let's
sites,
take the
then
location out.
Take
The
location.
sites are being selected to make it most convenient to the businesses.
I am taking that out of my motion. I'm taking my motion off the table, other than for the fact we are moving forward.
So is there a motion?
So, okay, my motion then just is the elimination of trash pickup on River Street through a city ordinance change. And then we are approving the siting of 2 garbage corrals within the district at a cost to not exceed $80,000.
You seconded?
Roger seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Just a second. I think this we need, roll call.
Okay.
I understand it, but I think just the motion probably should say we're allocating this out of fund balance because it's not a budgeted item.
Should say.
Would you want to amend my motion, or do you want me just to leave it? All right, can we just not follow Robert over, and I will just add that to my motion that the $80,000 comes out.
You can do anything you want.
He's okay with it, I think, he's second to it.
Okay, roll call T.
Can I just ask a question? I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Jeff, was there any discussion, you don't have to get up, was there any discussion at our meeting about the city helping at all with the funds? Or did we assume that the DDA was gonna pay for all of it?
I'm not aware of the city.
Okay.
Nor am
There was no discussion of identifying funds outside the DDA for this.
I would also recommend, I've been here and listened to this board and some issues with the DDA for several months now, and this is pretty open-ended as to who owns them, how do they get maintained, how do they get cleaned, that kind of stuff. And I would say that your recommendation at this point is to allocate up to $80,000 to participate in the capital cost of garbage corrals, and that's it. And maybe put something else in there that would be owned by the city of Manistee or something like that, because you're gonna run into this.
Same
I've
thing
seen,
issue
you're
with
gonna
the
run into the
bathrooms
same
and
issue,
everything else.
and let the city council then come back to you if they don't like that and work with you on that, because that's gonna come up. Who's gonna pay for them to be
Clean.
cleaned and everything else? And if you don't do that now, it's gonna become a problem.
Yeah, because when you remove trash from a dumpster, there's always gonna be stuff that falls outside of that and needs to be cleaned up, right? And your
Typically,
people
in
don't do
most
that.
corral-style relationships, there is a fee that's assessed in the scope of work that says once a year, we take the containers out of the corral, scrape them out, put everything in the containers. But there is always, some work that needs to be done. Someone has to own it,
If we
someone-
landscape around it, there's gotta be that ticket. I
Yeah.
agree with you. I mean, they're gonna be municipally owned.
I'm more interested in an ordinance change and allocation of funds in order to move this forward.
Right.
Well, I understand it.
I'm fine, as long as we do something.
I was just
Oh,
trying
I
to.
know, I'm not addressing that, I'm just saying.
So there's some, go ahead.
I think the details can be worked out later. I'm interested in an ordinance change, and if it's necessary to allocate funds and move this forward, then I was supporting that.
So there's a motion on the table, Roger second. I'm gonna do a roll call.
Well, let me do it, because I have to write down. I'll call.
Can you repeat the motion?
No. I'm gonna get the motion from here, there's way too much stuff to write, so
Okay.
I will take, unless someone wants to repeat the motion clearly and slowly.
Well, okay, it still is the elimination of trash pickup on River Street through a city ordinance change. We all agree to that?
That's the motion?
What about the
We have to-
allocation of $80,000 of fund balance?
What is the wording there?
Yeah, what do you?
Citing of garbage corrals within.
No, the second one, the third one, which is the funding one.
DDA cost participation in the capital costs of constructing garbage corrals in an amount not to exceed.
Well, it was 50,000 at that point. That wording kind of mirrored what Tom says, that we are contributing to a DPW project, the capital costs.
Okay.
That makes
The
sense.
understanding that we're not on the hook for future maintenance,
When I read
that's
your
what.
motion, when I read your motion a few days ago, or whenever you sent it, I thought the same thing. I thought.
That's
as far as I
why it was
concerned,
worded that way at the committee level, so.
And I think that's very.
So.
And I don't think, did I say fund balance at the committee level
No.
version, so. that-
So now everyone knows what my third motion is. I took the first two off the table.
So we have, your motion then is just.
All 1, 2, and 3.
Then let me read.
Change the dollar amount.
The elimination of trash pickup on River Street through a city ordinance change to citing of garbage corrals within the district. And third, DDA cost participation in the capital cost constructing garbage corrals in an amount not to exceed 50,000.
Although
80.
So you want to change this to 80?
Yes,
Rogers,
from fund balance.
from fund balance.
Rogers second, any more discussion?
Mayor, you
You
still
want-
second that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so roll call then, Rachel,
Yes.
Tamara,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes,
Kyle,
Yes.
P. No. Barry,
No.
Roger,
Yes.
and please, people don't be offended if I call you by your first names, but it's easier. And Valerie,
yes.
motion passed.
Motion passed. Okay, anything more from design?
Since Jeff is here, if he could talk about the parking signage, which is another one of the later items, just.
Yeah, I've got to run
I,
another
exactly.
meeting. The discussion occurred at the design committee about trying to identify for motorists the location of public parking lots. So at the last meeting, I just did a simple hand sketch of where, colored in kind of where the public parking lots are within the DDA district, and then tried to identify where locations of those signs could be placed. And then we had priced out the standard public parking signs with an arrow, identified the cost of those. I didn't bring my numbers with me, but they were $45 a piece, something close to that. And then the design committee had also asked for pricing for 2-inch round posts for those to be placed on where there wasn't an existing location or existing sign post where we could mount. Those are up, if I remember, $135 a piece. And I estimated at the maximum $25 or $25 each of those. So if I remember, the total was, you probably have your minutes, it was $4,600 or less than 45. That's a kind of a maximum amount, like I said, where there's places where we can install signage to existing posts or something, we can certainly take advantage of that. And the public works could install those with the DDA for the purchase of.
And just, the signage would be your really kind of industry standard P.
Yeah,
very
traffic
simple
signs
background.
are governed by the Michigan Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, which tells you how big they have to be, what they have to say, the color differential. So unless you're talking about decorative signing, that's a whole different thing. But when you're talking about signage for motorists, these are just the standard. If you want to make custom signs, I think it added another $10 per sign or something like that.
And the design committee was to recommend just going with the standard signage.
Can we talk more about that when we get?
Yeah, just,
down to
but
that?
if you got any questions for Jeff before he leaves on that
Yeah.
topic, time to ask.
And did you keep copies of the sign and everything?
I didn't bring it with me,
I didn't bring it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You guys need anything else from me as well?
No, thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks.
Yep.
So, anything more from design? Okay.
Well, now, just a second, guys. These, do we want to act on this? If so, we.
We didn't act on
We
it.
haven't. Not
Oh,
on the
Let's
sign,
wait till the end.
It's on the agenda later.
Yeah,
Because we already jumped for the trash containers. Okay.
so let's,
I mean, Tom mentioned this, the design committee is recommending 5 different capital projects. We're gonna cost around $100,000, and Tom's got most of that in the budget. The draft budget.
Well, I did in the first budget, yeah. It's the
So-
second budget.
We need to move on though, so
So I
can
just-
we talk about that when we get to it? Okay. Marketing and promotions, non-business development, Valerie had to leave at 1:30 today. Redevelopment,
No committee report, however, you need to be aware that yesterday we received a love letter from the DEQ reminding us that we have concerning the American Cleaners Program, we have some due care obligations because of the contamination that is there. It is pretty much a standard letter. I already talked with our environmental consultant that did the baseline environmental assessment. Whenever we do a DDA, then we get a letter from the DEQ saying that in order to maintain the liability protection of the DDA, we have to take certain actions that are called due care obligations. Our consultant already back in late summer prepared a due care report on our behalf. And that report spells out what we have to do on that property.
so what do we need to do, T?
Well, what we need to do is send a letter to the DEQ providing them with this due care plan. And then we need to take a couple of actions. One is we need to put signs on the building that say no trespassing, and another sign that says there hazardous material. The no trespassing can be pretty visible. The other one does not necessarily. And secondly, we need to send a notification to the state and to the adjacent property to the west, and probably to the city, because the city owns the right of way, that there is contamination on the property which may migrate onto the properties even though we have no indication that it does.
So is
I
this,
will prepare the letter
okay,
and we'll work with Tom. We need to do this on a DDA letterhead, providing them with a report. And my recommendation is that we send them the report, put up the signs, and send the notices to the
I
property.
make a motion to authorize our interim executive director to take whatever action is necessary to follow through on our due use or
Do care
due
obligation.
care obligations with DEQ.
Yeah.
second?
Can we forget about the signs? I mean, it's the entrance to downtown, putting no trespassing,
We
contaminated.
didn't listen.
I didn't, okay.
You can,
The signs, little
Small.
signs like that,
Uh-huh.
that go on appropriate windows.
Appropriate windows, I heard you, no, thank you.
okay, so any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Any opposed?
thanks, T.
Okay, thank you. So,
I've got copies of that letter if anybody wants to see it.
I'll prepare it, Tom, and I'll send
Thank you.
so recruitment, I called the 4 people that applied for the position and told them that we had our strategic planning session. There was going to be more discussion today on how we're going to move forward with the position. All of them were still interested. Excuse me, I think there were three people that I talked to, and all three of them were still interested. I think that we need to make a decision on at least hiring someone to do administrative work. Because we know that Tom, only wants to be interim for 2 to 3 more months. And we know that we have to have someone to at least do administrative work. And we have to get somebody in here that Tom can train before he leaves, so the work does not fall back on the board members as it did when Tyler left. Now, if we want to continue to talk about how we're going to move forward with the economic development piece and the event piece, that's fine. But I think that we have to make a decision on hiring someone for administrative work. Because we know no matter what, we need a person to do that.
Was this in response to the RFI that was sent out? Was that different? I'm trying to bring myself up.
That's in response to a position description for
I can look
DDA.
at
Okay, all right, sorry. Just- Okay.
Are you thinking that we would write up a new job description and post it and solicit for people to work part-time in administrative capacity? Kind of mirroring
We could-
hours and kind of responsibilities that Tom has kind
Yeah.
of fell into?
There's 2 options. We could do that, or we could hire another interim. So then if we do that, we don't have to post it. We could just hire an interim. I don't think that you have to post if you do an interim. So, because we know Tom does not want to go into the summer months. And if we do not have somebody, that work is going to fall back on Valerie, myself, and Barry. And we have to make a decision on
I agree with
this.
Rachel.
If we can postpone the economic development piece, that's fine. But we know for sure, 100%, we need somebody that does the administrative work.
I could help you write a job, I could write a job description for you that would be, for an administrator or administrative assistant or whatever you want to call it, and get some idea. And that person would handle the day-to-day activities and maybe work with events and pay bills and work with the board, do agendas, do board packets, all that stuff, and even be involved in meetings, be really kind of a DDA director, but as far as anything economic development coming, then you would have someone else or some organization.
The thing that Tom has done is because we gave him direction on 3 priorities to work on. When he's been asked to attend meetings outside of those priorities, he's asked me about it. Should I go, or do you want to go, or do you want to have someone from the board go? With a new person that we hire, if we're comfortable with them going to those kind of meetings, we can have them go to those, and then maybe we reevaluate their pay, or, if they're going to do more than what we're asking Tom to do. But we know for sure that we need someone to do administrative work. I think that we all can agree on that, and we have to move forward with hiring someone for that position, in my opinion, because we know Tom does not want to be here going into the summer months. And it's going to take at least 2 to 3 months to interview, hire somebody, and train that person.
I agree with Rachel. I think it's important, not only for all of the things that she talked about, but also for the new state requirements and what has to be reported, the transparency, the things that the city is responsible to make sure it gets on the website. There's a ton of stuff that needs to be done, and needs to be put through to the city. There has to be we have to be working really closely together to meet that, so we stay within compliance. We don't want to fall. We don't want to be on the other side of the fence. So I agree with you.
And that's
I think
something they
that
haven't
person
done
is
much.
important.
I don't want to stop the discussion on economic development, but right now, there's not, we're still waiting back for proposals, we're still waiting back for the chamber initiative on what they're going to do, but we can't keep waiting. for
No, I
what-
understand, but I'm hearing two things. One is to pursue another interim person,
We can do it either way.
or three, actually making this a permanent position and going through. If we do the former,
If we do the what?
the first, basically making it interim,
Uh-huh.
we're going through an awful lot of work to train somebody yet again for a short-term stopgap. But that's, as long as we understand that. If we are hiring someone in this position full-time, we've essentially eliminated about half of the options on the matrix because it's no longer one person for our organization, it's now a one person plus. So we've, in some ways, started narrowing options by making that decision to hire a full, or not a full-time, a ongoing person for this.
I agree.
And that-
I think essentially, if we hire someone full-time to do administrative, then full-time meaning part-time or permanently, then forget about, we will not have the ability to hire someone when we find that person to do anything else.
I don't think that we need to hire somebody full-time at 40 hours.
I don't mean, not
Permanently is the
full-time, I
word he
mean
meant.
permanently. Permanently. I like the idea of acting, unless we know exactly what those functions are going to be for the next 5, 6, 7 years, in which case it can be part-time, permanent. But
We can call it whatever we
it
want.
makes a lot of difference.
We can call it whatever we want. All I'm saying is we need somebody in to hire to do the work that Tom is doing.
I agree.
I am not going to do the work after Tom leaves in 2 or 3
Rachel,
months.
I
So we
agree.
have to make a decision.
But it makes difference what we call it, because if
So
I apply.
what do you want to call
Well,
it?
if I apply for, to be the administrative, I'm sorry, DDA administrator, and that is a permanent position, whether it's part-time or full-time, then I want to count on that for a number of years.
So what do you want to call the position?
I think an interim, which actually we don't even have to advertise.
And I'm totally fine with that.
I know I'm a little bit behind because this is my first meeting, but has there been any proposals from any outside, I'll just say organizations, to do administrative work for us?
What,
The new existing
Oh, not-
organization?
No.
Not
We have not
administrative.
asked for that.
We haven't
I
asked
didn't
for
say if
that.
we asked for it, has there been any?
And
Okay.
for that matter, not for economic development, we have not, we got a document from the chamber that is really the chamber's strategic plan for economic development. It did not address, I thought it was offensive, it did not address any of the requirements, any of the questions that we had in our RFI.
Okay,
So
so that
as
was
far
for
as I'm
economic
concerned,
development.
it doesn't
That- yes.
exist.
But in listening to Karen's description as to what she thought the process was, I think what the chamber provided was sufficient because they show that they have interest and want to work with us to develop further. And it was a request for information.
I disagree.
I understand that,
Yeah.
I
This
understand,
is
but
another
It
discussion.
did not have any meat.
That's economic development, right?
This is another
Just-
discussion. I would like to move forward on hiring an interim. We can call it an interim because then we don't have to post it again.
You looking for a motion, I'll make it.
To replace,
Support it.
But just a second.
okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
The motion and the support, only because we have to find a new place to move for, right?
What could happen, what could be good about this, you already know when you hire me that I didn't want this
Right.
forever. If you hire an interim, maybe someone who's applied for the job that might still want it as an interim, might say, I do it as an interim, and hopefully, and then it could potentially turn into a full-time if you like the person and you're happy with their work or whatever. So, that might be a good thing. I don't know.
But my understanding is that if we're going the interim, we're not going to post it, and therefore we're not going to get the best candidate because we're not asking broadly defined.
Well-
And just filling it because you're going to go away in a couple months is not the way to build an organization. Like, oh yeah, we've got a body, but, they're not really good at the job, but at least we had someone trained, so Tom could go. I don't think it's appropriate to do another interim.
Well-
To take 2 to 3 months to train someone who's gonna be here for 3 months after we just did that. Let's just go and hire a 20-hour-a-week interim with the expectation that this is an ongoing.
And post it,
And post it and find the best person.
fine
we
with
can.
that.
So to the motion then,
Well, I think there may have been a motion that was to
No,
hire
there
an
hasn't
interim.
been any formal
Okay.
motion.
I
well,
thought you were making one, but.
Did I?
I don't care what the motion is. Somebody needs to take Tom's place.
Right.
Somebody needs to be in position to do the reports as required so that we don't fall and
So Barry, are you comfortable?
I'll make
with
a
making
motion
about what you just said?
that we post with the intention of hiring a part-time executive director for the DDA to focus on our administrative needs.
I'll second.
Any more discussion?
Just a question, were you specific about it being a person, or could it be an organization or a firm?
I think it has.
This has to be, I think, the person.
I think it has to be a person. It doesn't have to be, but it would be
This is
really
a-
hard from where we are to accomplish that in a short.
Kyle, this is a person who's running to the bank, who's bringing.
I'm familiar with it,
Oh,
yeah, I just
okay.
am curious, I want to
But
clarify
there
your
are,
motion.
there are models out there where organizations do that on behalf of the DDA, but
So-
I don't think we're there.
It may actually be a little bit more than a 20-hour position. Some of the things that I'm.
I just said part-time, I did not
We
specify an
got-
hour just because of that.
So Roger, did you second?
I second.
Is there any
Okay.
more discussion?
yes, there is. Tell me your motion again, please. To hire.
That we post and with the intention of hiring a executive director for the DDA part-time to focus on our administrative needs.
He said part-time, but permanent.
Yes.
Yes. Any more discussion? T, you want to do call?
Yes, let me bring names up.
Move it to another.
I wasn't prepared with all of this.
I'm just kidding, T.
Okay, Rachel,
Yes.
Tamara,
Yes.
Eftaxiadis, no. Lynn,
Yes.
Roger,
Yes.
Valerie, no, not here. Sherry,
Yes.
Kyle,
No.
motion
Motion
approved.
passed. Okay, Tiff, Tom?
Well, let me just ask you a question. Do you want me to do anything on that? Or is that something that you guys are going to take care of?
So the people that were on the recruiting committee, I believe, were me, Valerie, and T.
Just let me know. if you
Us
need it.
three will get with you, but if you could start a,
Job description.
yeah,
The job description.
I could write it down.
Actually-
I'll take a lot of the things out of the old job description. leave some on
Exactly,
it.
and
I'll also get
Focus
you
on-
some ideas based on some similar positions in county government, maybe even downstairs, as to what you might pay, something like that.
and then one last comment, there is still the economic development piece that is left of this job position that
And then some marketing.
even some marketing. The thing with this year, there's only 2 events.
The budget shows more than that, so.
Well, that's because I didn't know.
I know.
There was only one that I realized was gone, and that was Booze and Brats, and so the rest of them, I was like, I'm putting them in there because I don't know.
And maybe this person can take on more responsibilities and as we move forward, but we have to have a start.
And I think we should make sure when we advertise that, to also send it again to the individuals that have submitted resumes.
I will call on them.
Because they,
I already
They
told
have
them I'm
some
gonna call them
capabilities
after
that-
this meeting,
yeah,
so they will know. Okay, Tiff,
TIF, just, all I can tell you is there is some progress being made there. We had a meeting last week with our consultant that we hired. He came up with some great ideas to maybe move this thing forward and to get past how much we're paying the city and arguing back and forth about that. We're meeting with the city manager, the city finance officer, and the public works director, and the city attorney, and our TIF committee next Wednesday at 9 o'clock, and hopefully, as far as the plan, the draft plan is already done, but there are some things he may want to add to the plan where, you know, the TIF, or the costs, the things that you discuss the most, how much money do we pay the city, can be put in the TIF plan with some COLA things, and there's a lot of good, I think he came up with some good ideas that we can discuss, and I think we're gonna be close to sending something to the city, so am I accurate in saying that?
I think you're very accurate. Cindy's here to
We all
start
have to
something
leave
for
that
next
too.
meeting, so we need to.
You know,
I thought we got it.
I could use it.
we haven't killed you.
Yeah.
Patiently waiting.
So,
and I think we need public comment. I can wait. It looks like we have some.
I do.
so events, Karen's not here, Rising Tide, I cannot go to Rising Tide meetings, so I asked Lizette if T or Valerie could.
I told her I would volunteer, I would go.
Can you contact
However,
her?
I thought that Lizette was going to let me know about yesterday's meeting. I did not hear anything, I didn't know it was.
That might have been my fault because I think she thought that I was still going to go to
Okay.
it, so you didn't get the information.
What I would like
I
is,
don't know if it's up to us though, just to delegate someone from the board. I don't know how that committee is actually set up, if they're going to pick somebody and ask somebody, but I cannot go to these meetings. And,
I think it was a selection process, they actually selected the people they wanted to do.
well, I was only asked as a DDA representative,
So, I
so,
mean, they selected some other people, my recollection.
so
so they
I'll email Lizette and see how she
I'm
wants to go
available
forward.
for that.
Okay,
just let me know.
so no old business. New business discussion on strategic planning document and matrix. Let's just, this is
We asked
talking,
time to schedule a meeting, all right, special meeting.
Well, you did,
but a
in
special
regards to-
meeting hasn't been set.
No, but he was going to talk to the Rising Tide consultants, pick some dates, send it back to us, and that would be the meeting to
So you guys discuss both things, but
That's what I thought.
That was my understanding as well.
Agreed to.
Okay. So B, request to amend the DDA bylaws. Roger?
Yes, I would like to bring the bylaws up to date, section on your bylaws on section 2. Your bylaws state that the board of the authority shall consist of 9 people, the mayor of the city of Manistee. State law, it does not follow state law. State law under 125.4201 definitions. H says the chief executive officer means the mayor or city manager of a city, the president of a village, manager of a village, and so on. I would like that changed to represent the state statute definition.
Are you saying that the bylaws are incorrect as it
They
is?
do not follow state statute.
Well, actually, I disagree with that.
I say that we table this until next month and everybody.
What is this under?
Everybody look at what Roger's talking about, and then we
The
bring this back next month.
city
Is that a
ordinance
The city
It's a
ordinance-
suggestion.
defines chief executive officer to mean the mayor.
Okay, the Home Rule Act has overruled that,
Well,
and I have an attorney's opinion on that.
So we as a board do not have a formal opinion. I don't think we can make any decision on this
Just-
right
just
now.
don't
One
make
thing
this-
at a time, yeah.
Let me make this clear. If the bottom line comes out that I am the executive officer, according to the current policy, current state law, I can appoint someone to take my place. I can appoint a designee. It's right here. And I will do that. So I would like to see us bring our bylaws up to current policy. The state law says an authorization of this control of the board consisting of a chief executive officer or the designee. So,
Again, I would like to table this until next month. We do not have enough information, and
what I would like to add to Roger, after reading all of this and starting to read the 110-page statute on this, is there are many things in our bylaws that I don't think conform to the current thing. We need, and one of the things our bylaws say is that we're supposed to, as a board, update these every year. I think in light of the new state statute, we should have a bylaws committee to meet with the city attorney, because a lot of these things are going to come from him, and do a revision of the bylaws, because I think Roger's point is one of many things that need to
And
be
while I have the
addressed.
floor, let me make some other comment. How many of you have been sworn in and taken the oath of office to subscribe to it? According to the statute, you cannot sit on this board unless you've done that. Tom Kaminsky cannot be the administrator unless he's taken the oath.
And
Or-
bonded.
who do we
And
take
bonded.
the oath with?
The city,
City clerk.
that's really the city clerk's
Well, why
responsibility
hasn't-
to tell us.
Yeah, why hasn't the city told us that?
I'm going through this and I'm finding all these inconsistencies and all these things that haven't been done. Is
That's
this-
really not up to the DDA.
I asked myself this question, is this really a legal board?
It seems like that would be up to the city clerk,
Well,
though.
it might be the Attorney General to figure out if it's a legal board.
We'll take it to the Attorney General.
You're spending tax dollars.
That's some light reading, Roger. That's some light
Can
reading.
we table this until next month?
I'm sorry.
I do think that a good suggestion to form a bylaws committee, or just,
Sure.
why don't we just table it till next month, period,
Yes.
okay?
Okay.
That's my motion.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Yeah, so,
Any more discussion? All in favor?
however, we need to take some, we need to talk about what's the next step.
We're gonna table it for next month, and then next month we will probably do the bylaws committee.
So we need a motion to table the discussion.
Right.
Yes.
There's a motion, it was second. Any more discussion?
There can't be any more discussion at this table.
All in favor? Any
Because
opposed?
we're not legal.
Okay, approval
All
of,
approved, okay.
we have about 3-4 minutes. Let's try to get through C, approval to submit the community grant application.
I would support that.
It's something the Lisette Grass has decided that she would do all the legwork. I brought Barry in to talk about that with her, and I I provided everything that she provided.
And we basically pulled out of the MSU study certain things that were things we already had estimates on, put them into that grant proposal.
Is
So
this going to have a lot of work on reporting back to the state and,
no, it's not a state grant.
oh, it's not a state
DDA.
grant? Oh, okay.
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second? Any more discussion? All in favor?
What was the motion?
It would be
To
approval,
submit-
just approval to submit an AARP community grant application.
And as prepared by
This was that.
the Rising Tide representative and with the DDA interim administrator. I mean, we should have some, or
The design committee?
is it the design committee that she went to, or?
She went to Tom.
She went to me and I called Barry because it was kind of designed.
But I think the DDA.
If you want to say what it is, what the application is, it's for
the
basically Riverwalk entrance signs.
No, I understand, but the DDA should, or a representative of the DDA, you should, as a minimum, review this application.
My motion would reflect that.
Is there a second?
I would say design committee, and it could be, I think it's due April 24th.
And
Sherry,
who
did you
supported
second
it?
it?
Yes, I
Sure.
did.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we,
Can I request that the 150th anniversary banners item get moved up to next? Because if we're gonna have them, we've got to authorize moving forward.
We have 3 minutes, guys, before they kick us out.
sure.
Okay, so the design committee is recommending that the board authorize up to $3,500 from fund balance to pay for 39 banners and hardware to celebrate the city's 150th anniversary that would be located on River Street. I handed out some mock-ups as to what they most likely would look like earlier. This is in addition to the budgeted $800. I don't think we will need all of that, but that's kind of a,
So the banners will replace the hanging baskets?
in that, so one basket, one banner, 39 of them down River Street. On the corners where you have the big stone pedestals,
Is this front and back?
those are front and back, yes.
So, I mean, no one's going to be able to read this, right?
It's meant for pedestrians. It's
Okay,
meant
it
for our
is.
summer. This is during the summer.
So
This is meant to
is-
engage people, kind of giving them a history perspective, a little history lesson as they walk up and down River Street, if they want to take time to read it. If they want to just look at some pretty pictures, those would be. So that's the recommendation coming out of design committee. But if we're gonna have these for Memorial Day, the whole process has got to get started. Okay, I'll move to accept the design committee's recommendation of $3,500 out of fund balance for the purpose of these 150th anniversary banners.
Second.
T, you want to do roll call?
Just a second. You're not right, huh? How much was it?
3,500. It's in the design committee, so.
Roll call. Rachel.
No.
No. Tamara?
Yes.
Yes. T? Yes. Barry?
Yes.
Roger?
Yes.
Valerie? No, not here. Sherry?
Yes.
And Kyle?
Yes.
Motion approved.
So we don't have any more time in this room.
Um,
I
So
I
see that.
We, I think, we have to ask them about the comment.
Yeah, out of courtesy, just to Linda, even for 30 seconds or whatever.
You guys are going to be thrilled to know I'm chairman of the ordinance committee too. So, we had a work session last night at City Council, and we had the DDA on the work session, which I thought was great because on your strategic planning report, your facilitator put on page 10 that the DDA board wants to clearly know what the city expects from them. A checklist of roles and expectations were suggested. Linda will complete this in March. So we only have one work session per month, so it was good that it was on the agenda. Several things came up. Roger's point about the bylaws, maybe the state laws do need to be changed. And as far as designating someone to be the representative from the city, the consensus of the council with Roger's recommendation was that it was going to be Cash Keller. So we did agree on that. And so that's one of our changes that we'd like to see. And we'd also like to, it's more important to us that everything that the DDA does complies with Public Act 2018 that was passed in late December last year that became effective. And by the end of this year, there's a lot of deadlines in it, timelines. By the end of the year, everything in that act has to be completed. And most of it has to do with transparency. You know, don't take this too personally because it affects every DDA in the state of Michigan. So that has to be completed by the end of December. And I don't know how you're going to do it unless you get started on it. So
That's why we are hiring an administrative person.
That will help.
Barry is already working with somebody else
okay.
on what we need to do in the list that we will need to do to comply with that.
Wonderful.
So
The other thing that we talked about was, we talked about it not in great detail, but it just seems to be in the general opinion that since we're going to be contracting with the Chamber for Economic Development, that it's our desire to see that you go that way too. I'm just summarizing because we've got a lot of time here. Roger, if you want to add anything.
So that was, can you say that again? What was the
General
council
consensus seemed to be that we would like the DDA to consider contracting with the Chamber of Commerce for Economic Development so that we're on the same page. We think it's advantageous.
Linda, when are they going to have something that's formal on what they're going to do for economic development?
I don't know.
Well, even,
They're working on the
They're
contract.
working on
right
the contract with our attorney.
They're working
right now.
on a contract for the city. As it relates to us, they want to sit down with us and have a dialogue. They're not going to come and propose something to us because given how fractured we are, they think that's a waste of their time. And I quite frankly would agree.
Yeah, we already agreed that we wanted to do a contract. The next step would just have the contract written and that agents in.
so when are they going to get economic development capabilities?
When we see the contract.
For us, they're doing economic development now.
Yeah.
Who? Huh? Who
The
does
chamber
it?
is.
The chamber just itself.
But they
without
don't
this other
have
board.
anyone on,
They-
they don't have
they
anyone on
don't have
staff that does
anybody
the training.
on
That's
staff.
about
You know,
Come on.
That's-
They have to be a part of that discussion if we're looking for.
Okay,
Good thing it's.
we got it. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. Meeting adjourned.
I think we're adjourned.